and welcome to the Council of Good Brothers. Just like water is a necessity in life, so is having a good brother in your life. I got four good brothers here. Not only are they good brothers, but they all are husbands, they all are fathers, and they all are fathers to daughters. And that's what's important right now. We need to figure things out because right now things ain't going well. Maybe we can come up with some things, maybe we can't, but at least no one can say we didn't try. I guess the first question to ask to see where everybody's mind is at, give it up. Let's see. First question, LeBron or MJ? Go, twin.
LeBron.
Up. Ad lib.
MJ.
Professor?
Oh, it's MJ.
MJ. I think I'm gonna have to. I thought I was gonna get four MJs. I gotta go to MJ too. But that lets you know that everybody's a little different. So right there was something that you would think might be pretty common. Sometimes it ain't. So anything. Anyway, like I said before, the bottom line is that we're all fathers, we're all husbands. I'm gonna throw this question out there. I want to get y'all's opinion on this right here. As fathers, what is our responsibility to get our daughters to the altar? Is it our responsibility to get them to the altar? I'll start with you, twin.
I mean, I'm glad that you rephrased that. When you say, is it our responsibility? I think we do have a part in that for sure. As fathers and as men, it's our responsibility to let them know from a male perspective what we need to attract or to make sure that woman gets down the aisle. So if she goes down in life blindly not knowing what a man needs, what a man wants, I think that's my responsibility if I never told her.
All right. What about you, Professor?
I would say it's our responsibility to educate them on the world around them and what they want in their life. In terms of a partner and how to search for that, how to sustain or keep that partner, how to be successful. To me, it's driving an understanding of what they want and what aligns with that around the whole compatibility piece. So it's not my goal to get her down the altar. It's my goal to educate her on the process it takes to get there and then hold on to that. And she may, right, wrong, or indifferent, decide that that's not what she wants. So I have to prepare her with an understanding of, well, what comes of that? You be one of these newfound women that believe, I don't want a traditional, life or partnership. Then, okay, here's potentially what comes with that. Here's what you're saying, because a lot of things that these young girls are taught or think about, it's the world around them that, they teenage girls, they don't know any different. So that's where our job come in. It's like, let's provide some groundwork and foundation of education about what this all means.
Go ahead, Adlib.
I would say that it's not necessarily our responsibility, kind of in the context of what we're saying, but I would say it's our responsibility in demonstrating the type of man through your own self that she should identify with when that man comes around. So what we have to remember is, and you said this all the time, your children, typically for the first 18 years of their lives, they're going to, in a nuclear family, they're going to see you every day. They're going to see how you interact with your mother. They're going to see how you interact with other people, how your kindness, your love, all these different things. And, most women's first love is their fathers. So we have to be careful about what we disseminate as men, because we have to remember, in the words of Tupac, all eyes are on me. So if you're putting out yourself to be something other than the man you think she should have, then you have to kind of go back and look at yourself and say, why wasn't she able to see it in me, and what I didn't do? Because the man's responsible for the upbringing of the child. The child should, if the child gets everything they need, they should find the right situation for themselves through what you displayed.
I'll agree with that. I'm gonna add something to it. Y'all can agree or disagree. I definitely think it's our responsibility in the same fashion. You know, it's our responsibility to explain to our children about credit. It's our responsibility to tell our kids about being on time, about managing their money, about the effects of drugs, the effects of alcohol, the effects of keeping a good driving record. All these things are like hot buttons that we have to hit in those 18 years. I kind of put the marriage on the list for two reasons. One, if you don't, then she's still your responsibility. And I don't know how any of us, none of us have 30-year-old daughters, but a 35-year-old, a 36-year-old calling you in the middle of the night, in which we will go, but do we want to live our fall of our lives still caretaking to her instead of passing that responsibility over to another good brother? And number two, obviously, the name is We Are Better Together, because I feel that way. If you see any actor, man or female, any celebrity, they'll always say, it was great that I won this Oscar, but it's nothing compares to being a father. It was great that I won this award. It was great that I went platinum. It was great but it doesn't compare to fatherhood, to motherhood, I just think that that's a part of it. I think no matter how successful you might become, I think if you don't get that aspect of life, you could be missing out something big. And unfortunately for women, they won't realize that until it's too late. It's not like a man who's 40 can go out and get a younger woman and start a family at 40. It's difficult for a woman at 40 to say, I'm gonna go find me a 40-year-old man and start a family and have 2 kids. It's possible, but difficult. Do you all think, I don't know if you guys saw the news report, but it said 6 years from now, half of all women will never have the title of mother or wife. Half. You guys believe that? You think it's crap? You think it's real?
Is this all black women?
It's all women. All women. So that statistic came from, I don't know if it's Morgan Stanley or what's the other one, Charles Schwab. But in essence, they were looking at a 10-year review of where they can tell their stockholders to put their money. Where do you put your money? There's always, that's their job, is to find the industry of where to throw the money. What's hot? What's the hot button? Like right now, it's AI. Put your money in AI. Put your money in anything that's automated. That's going to take the human factor out. That's where the money. And so they're like, okay, we're going to have a whole population of single women. It's not smart right now to put your money in something that was baby related, because there are going to be less babies out here. So, but there will be more single women. That's where we need to tell our investors to put their money. So, you guys believe that? Do you think is that a good thing? Is a better thing? Since one of us believes LeBron, there's always a different thought.
So, since you bring up LeBron, and my take, first I ask this question: What are those numbers based on? When you say half of the women won't be married, is that based on the female population versus the male population?
It's a combination of everything. It's a combination of the female population. It's a combination of women waiting longer. It's a combination of more LGBTQ relationships out there, so there's no kids there. It's a combination of women just not finding a man. So it's a combination of all those things. And based on all of this is the outcome. 49% of women will never get that title based on the way we're going after 2030, which is 6 years from now.
I disagree.
You disagree? Why?
Look, man, I just think that, we do as a community, since we're all African-American males on here, we would agree that we have a situation in our community with marriage and other things, but I don't believe that. I think that that's kind of based off, the people you said you got the information from, that's based off the people they're looking at who are investing in the market and all of that, which a lot of times isn't us. I mean, we grew in slavery. We, with the losses we took, we still grew. So um, it was what 17 million black people out of slavery, and that was only 140 years ago, or roughly, because it was 160 years ago, and now
About
we're all
160 years.
now we're already approaching 50 million. So, I mean, we even with the many things that affect our community, that right there, that connection, it even though women and men might not recognize it, it's embedded in our heritage. And at some point, whether it works or not, people do want it. You know what I mean? And as long as Sexy Red making songs, it's gonna be some babies made. Boom, boom.
But I think the study said not married, right?
Or
Wife
mother.
or mother. Or mother. They'll
Or
never
mother.
get that title. Yes. So they won't get. So there's going to be some single moms out there. So they'll get one title.
Yeah, so that's
So-
the key. If the study said marriage, I would tend to lean into the research and the data as we look at and married heterosexual couple, not married lesbian, gay, heterosexual woman with a man kind of thing. So in that regard, I would tend to say, yeah, I might see that because of the more around that acceptance, but as well as what I consider this conscious, almost indoctrination, especially to women about you don't need a man, and there's also trauma, especially in the black community, that these dudes ain't worth a damn, and you don't need no man, and then they raising kids to say you don't need a man, and then go out and work hard, or even if it's not that, just from an education standpoint, like be independent, be the independent woman, go get yours, never have to need somebody. And I think that permeates through not only the black community, but I think it's starting to permeate just through communities of women in general, to the point where their aspirations to, we get paid less than men, so we need to be equal. So we need to strive for more. We need to work for more. We need to get more. And then as we talk about what's attractive to a man that's seeking a partner, we're seeking this person, the quote you, CRJ, is like we're seeking one of the 20% that are very limited. And what are we seeking? We're not seeking a competitor. That's one of the main things we're not seeking. I'm not going to make $250,000 and look for somebody that's making a quarter. That hypergamy doesn't work from my vantage point. So I'm seeking a partner that aligns with where I'm trying to take this foundation, this household, this family, this brand. Let's talk about it in that sense. Our families are brands, Ford and Hilton, and that name is a brand. That's a family. I'm looking for that. And if I'm trying to compete with that, then it's like, no, I can build with something else. So I think that's what ends up being the limitation. It's also this almost indirect, subconscious, just feeding of, or maybe even it's direct. Negroes ain't this. You don't need them for this. You don't need them for that. Go get your money. Go do your thing. That's the direct, but the indirect is, we need a seat at the table in corporate America. We need a seat in the C-suite. We need this, we need that, and strive for that. And as parents of daughters, fathers of daughters, I don't think any one of us would say we wouldn't tell our daughters to strive for everything they want. But there's an education that comes with that, in understanding how this will impact their potential in a relationship.
That's exactly what I tell. That's exactly what I tell you. My daughter wants to be a doctor, and I say, you can be a doctor. You should be a doctor if that's what you want. But how will that impact you in a relationship? Well, let's just look at it. If you go to medical school, you're going to give up some vital years, possibly being a mom. You need to understand that. Okay. Number two, hypergamy is real. If you come out being a doctor, you're making $300K. you're probably going to look for a guy who makes 300K. How many men in America make 300K? How many men in America, black men, make 300K? How many men in your town who are single make 300K? Are you going to be good with me dating a guy making 75 if you're making 300? Chances are probably not. So you just need to understand that. The same way if I had a son and he said, I want to go in the NFL, there's a thing called a concussion. It can happen. You need to understand that. Doesn't mean you shouldn't go in the NFL. You just need to understand that this is a possibility.
Here's the reality of your choices. This is the reality of your choices.
Ad-Lib wanted to say something, I think. Go ahead.
Nah, I think we place too much value on that. I mean, as a man.
On what? Too much value on what? On
the money piece. I just think, I'm a man. I mean, I can knock a millionaire. I can knock one working at Waffle House. That's that.
But that's us. That's what we can do. Can they do that?
That's what I'm saying. So what I'm saying is, if the woman is attracted to the man and he truly is that man, he gonna establish himself as such. And that's the problem. We bring too many titles into the relationship.
Would she establish herself? Would she be attracted to a man who works at Waffle House?
That ain't necessarily. I mean, yeah, but it ain't. You can't let that be the give all be all, because you go out here and become a brain surgeon, and if this man the best pipe fitter or electrician or whatever, this is about you and him building something, and you're not competing for his dollars. You want the protection of his manhood. So
that sounds good, but you're talking about it the way we would think. Do they think that way? Because in their mind, they're looking at my lifestyle with a doctor is going to look a lot different than my lifestyle with a pipe fitter. And are they willing to accept that? If the woman is already making this and that guy is not that, that's going to be a problem. And they'll look at it and say, you hear women say all the time, he was good, he just wasn't on my level. Or, he just wasn't going anywhere. No, he just wasn't going where you wanted him to go. He might have been going somewhere. Or maybe he was okay just being a science teacher for the 6th grade. Maybe that's his goal, was to be a 6th grade science teacher. And that's all he wanted. But it wasn't good enough for you.
So let me ask this real quick, CRJ. You said you had these conversations with your daughter. She wants to be a doctor. She comes out making $300,000. Is she going to be okay with a guy making 75? What was her answer?
She never gave an answer if she would or wouldn't, but I think the hypergamy in her is going to be a problem. It's going to be a problem because there's a lifestyle that she's going to be used to. I tell her, she hasn't said yay or nay. I told her, I said, first of all, you need to ask the outcome. And I asked, do you want to be a mom? Do you want to be a wife? And she says, I do. I said, okay, good. I said, my recommendation to you is to be mindful of that if you're going to medical school. And we don't know how far it'll go. She might get in there and change up. You need to be mindful of that on the mom side. And I said, most doctors end up finding their spouse in medical school when you're both two broke medical kids. That's the best realm, because at the end of the day, the hypergamy is real, and doctors make a lot, man. They're at the top of the food chain when it comes to income. And it's not, a lot of women say, oh, it's not about the money. You know what? It is and it isn't. It's not as much about the money as it is the lifestyle. If you're used to going on an airplane, then you need a partner that's used to going on an airplane. If you get with a guy and he's still using Greyhound to travel and you're used to an airplane, it's not going to work. If you're used to going to Longhorn and he's never even been to Longhorn, his idea is Golden Corral as a night out, it's not going to work. It's just not. Women don't want that. Women need to look up. And if they got to teach a dude, they're going to get bored, they're going to get mad, they're going to lose respect. And once the respect is gone, it's a wrap. And it's unfortunate that they're built like that, but it is what it is. And now in the cases where you see this there are cases out there, and you have some women, especially if a woman is attractive. My daughter is attractive. She's very fit. She works out more than anyone else in the house. So, if you got a woman who is in that 8, 9, 10, 7, 8, 9, 10 category, then they can do better. Now, if you got a woman who's in the 1, 2, 3 category, maybe that's all they can get, and maybe they have to settle for the guy who makes 75. But not for a woman who's in the 7, 8, 9, 10 category who's getting hit on when they go pump gas. I wish there was a workaround to hypergamy. I haven't figured one out yet. What is the workaround?
I think, I'm gonna go on Ad-Lib. I'm gonna pick up a little bit. on what you said with the Waffle House. I think, like, let's say it's a young brother, 6'2", fit brother, probably 23, 24 years old, you know, making them waffles, scrambling them eggs at Waffle House, and a nice looking sister walk in. They be like, yo, I mean, and he start talking, they start talking. I think it works from there. But I think, unfortunately, back to the whole indoctrination piece, it's like we can start here, but where are you going to go?
What do you aspire to be?
What do you aspire to be? So to your point about I'm a man and I got, it's about my manhood, and you want to honor, respect, and protect my manhood and know that I'm going to protect you as my woman. I think that is great. I think that works out early on. That's why, you know, they say you got to find that partner probably in your early 20s and lock them down, because then there's an ascension. But let's say the aspiration, the mentality isn't there for the woman in terms of what they see in this man. It's like, brother is really good working at Waffle House, making a few bucks, going out to the club on the weekend or going out to dinner with you, and, you know, paying his rent and making his car payments. And that's a good life. I think as they grow, that's just gonna, it's just not in there. And they feel like that whole thing about being protected, they feel like I can't financially be protected. I can't, as a family unit, feel that sense of protection because your mentality isn't there.
And women's mindset is always from day one, their mindset is the man I choose has to be the best deal in my mind. Is this the best deal out there? This got to be the best deal. If it's not the best deal, I'm always going to keep looking. And that's what really messes a lot of them up, because if they get with a guy who flies them out, it takes them and really shows them something, they think like, oh, well, I should be able to get that again and again and again, or I should be able to get that
and then
for commitment, and then some for commitment. And maybe that was just a one-time thing. And that guy, you know, you were 24, you were hot, he flew you out to LA, you did all of that, and you went back, and you're like, yeah, I'm looking for that again. You know, so if you date someone at that level, you're thinking that the next guy should be above that. And you know, we don't think, you know, if we knock off a 10 one day in our single career, and we knock off a 10, we don't assume that, oh, well, I got to marry a 10 because I knocked off a 10. No, it doesn't work that way. They just got lucky that night.
Right.
Hey, well, look, I think one of the things, especially since we all Black here, is the one thing that I noticed we didn't mention is, you know, I would have to think there's a direct correlation with these, the mindset of the women and the abandonment of the church in our community. And not just the church, all religious organizations, because the one thing, you know, that the church and being in church or being in the mosque and all those different things do, they break down the barriers of financial independence, and you have a role to play as a woman and as a man. So you see our community leaving the institution of church, mosque, synagogue, whatever, and then you also see numbers as far as marriage and things of those nature diminishing. So I think there is some type of correlation, because what we're saying is, it's like, hey, a woman's asking about how much money you make, this, that. She ain't asking you about your moral aptitude, your belief system, what do you think, raising kids. See, because what happens is when these women go out here and get these men that are making this type of money, and the expectations that they thought because he had money, but he has no morality in himself, then they're disappointed and bitter. And they say, well, you know, he did this, he did that, he did this. But even in your situation, CRJ, you know, your union was brought about because of your affiliation with your church. You know what I mean? And it was a recognizing of who you were as a man in God, and your wife where she was at, and that brought that union together. So, you know, we don't talk about that no more. We don't talk about, most of us, our parents, our grandparents, they were in some type of belief system that kept civility between them in the homes.
So
You
let
know,
me ask, let me chime with a question on that. So are you saying that you think the church is failing the women, or the women are abandoning that institution and therefore don't pick up that sense of value and duty almost as it relates to a relationship?
I think it's both. I mean, I think the men, we all, I go to church, but if you go to church, that it's typically more women than men. You know what I mean? The man has abandoned the church, the foundation of it, or the mosque, or whatever. The man has abandoned that, and therefore he doesn't get fed spiritually what he needs to understand his role. He doesn't understand his role. He thinks because he's a man, he deserves a woman, just like my 7-year-old grandson think he deserves an iPhone, but he has no need for it. He's 7 years old. So the same thing is, if you don't have any uh, 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 foundation of what this thing is supposed to be, your role as described, because what is it? Man loves the church, woman loves the man. I forget, you know what I'm talking about. I can't think of it right now. But what happens is that the woman, the man comes into this and he says, I deserve a woman. Why? What have you done? You ain't working, you don't have no morality, you don't have a belief system. I mean, or you're not even ready for this. So we gotta start looking back to, and I hate to bring it back to a religious standpoint, but we gotta look at where we're the most religious people in the world, and we're not religious anymore because if you believe in the Bible, basic instructions before leaving Earth, or the Quran, or the Torah, the whole program is laid out by God for a long time. It's not a new formula. It's a tried and true formula that we have just gotten away from in our community, because you need to know what car a guy drives versus where his spiritual morality is at, and how is he going to treat you as a woman, not as he's going to be able to buy you a Birkin bag.
You're 100% right. You're right, and I think that role, and that a lot of men aren't ready for that role and that responsibility, and that's a lot of women always quick to say, you need to shit to get off the pot, and it's just like, you don't understand what our role is, but it is a big role, and you're right. The blueprint is set if you follow scripture. The blueprint is set, no matter what. It is supposed to be God, husband, wife, and then the children, and the hierarchy is the way it is, and most women will say, I'm spiritual, I'm Christian, but then they'll say, I'm not submitting to nobody. We partners, we're equal. It's just like, wait a minute, we're not equal. There's a coach, and there's an assistant coach. There's a CEO and a CFO. There's, and I call my wife the coordinator. I'm the head coach, and she's the coordinator. Do I value her opinion? Absolutely. Am I still the head coach? Am I going to make the final decision? Absolutely. Does she understand that? Absolutely. And that's a big part of it. I don't think a lot of men understand what their role is supposed to be, and I don't think a lot of women want to accept it. That probably pushes us to our original statement of half are going to be short in 6 years if what they're saying is true. And I think the professor says something to the effect, he asked, was it black women? They said the study was all women. I'll ask the question, because if we really look at it, any other statistic has always said that even if it is half, if that's true, I promise you, in our community, it's lower. Our women are the least married. Our women, I saw a stat yesterday that 75% of all of our marriages fail, where we all know it's typically 50%. Everything, 50% in the divorce. Great. Ours is 75. So 1 out of 4. That ain't good at all. So I'm gonna throw this question out there: if black women know, if because women file the divorces, we do know that they file 80% of the divorces. If they know, that black men are out there seeking the snow bunny, looking at the snow bunny, that's an option now. It's being talked about. Why aren't they doing what they're doing? Why are they not doing what they're doing? Or is it something that they shouldn't even look at, or it doesn't apply? I want to hear y'all thoughts on that.
Well, I mean, in my opinion, CRJ, I feel like this may sound silly, And I feel like you got black women, you got white women. Black women can't be white women. So, to your question, I feel like they do the exact same things that white women do. They're just not white. And some do prefer white women. I feel like they just prefer the aesthetics, the body type of white women.
You
But
think that's why a brother would date a white woman based on the? It can't be based on the body. It can't be based on the body. I mean,
body type.
eight out of 10 sisters will have, you know, somewhat of a decent body at some point in their life. Maybe not later, but at some point. But
Yeah, I mean, but I think some black men do prefer. They don't prefer the big booty. They don't prefer the super curves. They may prefer just the, you know.
I'm gonna push back on that. I don't think anybody wants that. I think, and I'm gonna speak from experience. I've dated white women before. I've dated white women, and there was definitely a difference. You know, not saying that a white woman can't have an attitude, but it was more of a conforming. What would you like? What do you want? Where would you like to go? And a lot of it, you know, some of it might be their fault, just in their personality. Some of it might be what they've seen. Have they seen a black man? You know, I did a short a couple of months ago where I said that's the key is for a woman is does she have a father in her life? Has she seen what a good man looks like and what a good man expects and wants and desires? And if you've seen that, then you know how to provide that. And some black women have not seen that, unfortunately. That's on us. That's on us as black men walking away from our post. But unfortunately, it affects the next generation. So now you have a girl, you got a guy, I don't think he's like, I'd rather have a big booty than a flat booty. I think I'd rather be talked to a certain way than talked to this way. You know, and someone who says, what can I do for you versus what do you want?
Well, let me say this. I think, you know, it all comes down to a situation of, you know, obviously preference, but, you know, the catering. You know, I think what you find sometimes in what I've seen, you know, like for instance, my daughter graduated last year. She went to a small school in Ohio. I think it was 20 people in her nursing program. She was the only African American girl, and I think she said 15 of those girls were engaged to be married last year as they were coming out of school. So
see,
you know
that ain't even see. Go ahead.
So you know the programming is, you know, I mean the programming is, you know, what we have to understand is, and men and women, you know, you incomplete by yourself. You just are. And I think a lot of times, you know, especially she went to a Catholic school, so you know, a lot of the parents are married. They've seen homes. They know what home looks like. So the agenda of, hey, yeah, good job, you got your nursing degree, but the ultimate thing you should be doing is getting a husband. You can be a nurse anytime, but with you know, it's like anything. It's like musical chairs. If you wait too long to sit down, it won't be a chair there, you know. And they grow together. You know what I mean? They grow together. You know, I'm coming out of school, you coming out of school, you know, and then that even goes back to some of the things you talk about is, you know, even though they're growing as a young couple, their parents on both sides are imputing in them the things that are going to make them a successful marriage. Hey, don't worry about a house. We're going to buy you one. We're gonna set you up with some things that are gonna make the transition from student to marriage a lot better. You know, versus
easier.
We coming in. You know, I'm coming in with my problems, child support, divorce, bankruptcy, whatever. You coming in with yours. You know, tax problems, whatever. So you know, we coming together collectively with mad shit. You know what I mean? So what we have to do is, you know, if you look back on us traditionally, we married young and had children young. That's, you know, my grandmother, you know, I mean, shit, by the time a woman was 30, you know, she might be 4 or 5 deep. You know, I come from a family of 6. My mother died at 39, and from 1969 to 1985, she had 6 kids. You know what I mean? So she spent a lot of time being pregnant. You know, so and you know, we just you know, we so busy, like you always say, everybody out there pushing that hot girl summer, but you know, as you get older in life, you start asking yourself, shit, I'm 55. How many more summers I got? You know what I mean? You know, and they it seemed like you got an unlimited amount at 18, but when you 45 and you know, and you ain't
It's
got
too
no
late, and you
kids.
can't go back. You don't have that power that we have. We have that power. We don't hit a wall. You can have a dude who's 40, 45, and all of a sudden that idea that he has hit, and now he sold it for $3 million. He's sexy as hell right now. It is what it is. To the average woman, everything changes. You know, it's not the same for us. I mean, it's unfortunate. I wish more women saw that. I wish older women preached that to the younger women. They don't, because they're competing for the same guy. That 50-year-old is competing for that same dude. They're competing for that 50-year-old dude who's made it, who's got a job, who's the VP. He's, you know, and that 40-year-old is competing, and that 35-year-old is competing for that. They all try to get that guy to notice them. So why would they help them? You know, we don't have. We're talking here collectively to possibly help a young brother out there. You know, maybe a female, but to help a young brother. That you got 4 professional, you know, brothers here who are all married, who are all professional, who all have kids. We're trying to help them. They're not going to look out for the young sister like that and let her know that job is irrelevant 20 years from now. And you're not even going to want to work 20 years from now. You're going to get sick and tired of it anyway. You're going to be like, man, what's the retirement plan look like? Once you hit to that 50 mark, you're like, oh, this is getting old.
And then when you retire, the bigger question becomes, who you gonna spend that retirement with? What you gonna do with it? You going on vacations by yourself at 50, saying, living my best life on the beach, showcasing your Instagram body by yourself?
By yourself.
Let me jump in right there. I just went to the Aruba Music Festival, right, in May. And I tell you, man, it blew me away. I was with my wife, of course, so I was good. But, I mean, it just blew me away to see 15 and 20 black women traveling in packs by themselves. Like, I was like, damn, this is crazy.
What age are we talking?
A lot of them in the late 20s, early 30s, 50s. You know what I mean? A lot of them, you know, and I was like, I just blew me away. Like, man, you know, I couldn't imagine me personally, honey, when you watch this, know this is true. I can't imagine not being with my wife, you know, still out here trying to turn up, you know what I mean, on these little cruises and all this. Like, bro, that's too much. And I'm looking.
Everything gets it gets old. It gets old.
And that's what I'm saying.
I'm looking at old.
If it's 25 of y'all, and okay, even if I'm with a group of guys, it's 10 of us, you know, and we all pair up, shit, that's still 15 that's on the sidelines. So can I ask another question? I want to kind of veer off. So what's your thoughts on polygamy? Let me go with something here. You know, polygamy has always been practiced throughout history. And the number one reason that it's been practiced is because when men went to war and they were all killed, there were a limited amount of men left when everything returned back to normal. And to repopulate a society, the only way to repopulate it is through childbirth. So, you know, we're in a situation now where, you know, now this is actual fact, we have the largest prison system in the world. Not just the free world. Is no more people are in prison in this country than anywhere. So think of China, Iran, all these different places. And over 50% of those people are black and brown. So not only, and the population for women are growing. So the community in itself, even if we just said, draw a line to everybody, it's not enough. It's more women than it is men. And we are in a situation where at some point, not probably in my lifetime, but at some point, we're going to be faced with that where you say, hey man, you know, this community living, you got one wife or two or whatever. We might come to that at some point, just because of putting us back in line with our population. Women always think it's about sex. And when you look at it historically, it has nothing to do with sex. It has to do with community. And, I know it's a hard pill to swallow. I'm not preaching it for myself, babe, if you're looking at this, but I'm just saying it's something that has always been in our community, even in slavery. The buck had kids by multiple women. Why? Because the slave master was trying to grow the population, and he grew it to man's seed. That's the only way to grow it. We don't want to fertilize that seed.
I'll say two things to it. One, I don't think it will work in today's time because women have their own money and they're not going to accept it. But two, I actually worked with a guy who basically practiced this, and he was miserable. And I looked at him in awe. I looked at him. I was like Mike Epps on Friday when he was all happy around Magic Mike. Like, I like this guy. Like, tell me more. And he was like, it's not what you think it is, man. It's not good. And I said, how is it not good? He said the attitude that if he does for one, he has to do for the other. The attitude he has to deal with. He said, and keep in mind, he said, I pay for everything. He said, that's why I work 2 jobs. He said, this is not my only job. He said, I have a second job because I have to provide. You think they're going to go out and work and give money to me? He said, no, I got to provide for both, and I have to provide equally. He didn't look like a happy man like you would think because of responsibility that fell on his shoulders. And he said, sometimes, they don't bicker as much with each other, but sometimes they get on the same page and both come at him. And he kind of changed my thinking, like, wow, in my mind, I'm thinking of all the visual. I'm like, man, this sounds awesome. But you start listening to him talk, he didn't sound like a happy man.
Were they in the same house?
They were in the same house. He wasn't black. He was Hispanic. And you see what the hat says. Happiness. Our happiness is permanent. Our happiness. But he's not a happy man.
It don't sound like his marriage in that purpose was for sex. Was it his belief system? What led him to have 2 wives?
He said that one of them, this is what she knew because her father had it. The other one was just more looking as a come up, like, hey, I'm down with this if it allows me to live in the house and not have to work, and I'm getting provided for and protected, I'm game. And the other one was like, this is what I'm used to. This is like what someone said in the beginning of our conversation. We show our children what life is like. They follow us. So this is what she knew. And so
but that was the women. What was his reason for going along?
I think he got in it just for the reason all of us are thinking it sounded good. It's like, yeah, this sounds great. Oh yeah, let's do it. And then after he got in, he realized this is a lot
because
more
to answer the question, the original question around this, monogamy and polygamy. I think it's the same reason a man will cheat is because after I've eaten this steak dinner every night, sometimes I want a little bit of fried lobster. I see that fried lobster over there and I really want to try that. And they'll go after it in that vein and they'll think that, to have that option. So there isn't the thing about having relationships early where we're like, man, lock them down, get them early, grow together, all that kind of stuff. That's all well and good. Back to what I said before, if you have the right mentality, you have to understand in doing that, you might not have the ability to have that fried lobster. Are you okay with that? Is that going to
settle down? You mean if you settle down early?
Yes. So, and then you lock it down because some of the happiest marriages that I know of, their brothers was wild. They was wild for a good 5 or 10 years, and then they settled down. And then it's because they have that understanding of this is who I am, this is what I want, this is what I'm looking for, and I'm looking for a partner that fits that. And I've had all the fried lobster, the steak, the shrimp. I done had it all. And I know what it's all like. I know what it tastes like. I know what it feels like. I'm good with all of that. Now I'm just looking for that steady, supportive, one accord that ultimately brings me the peace that's going to carry me all the way through to my happiness for the rest of my days on this earth. That's what I'm looking for. So for me, I don't think by nature we're literally the only. I mean, there's some very unique species in the world, but we are the only one that consciously practices monogamy as a species on the planet. So that in itself is hard, and because it's almost like unnatural, and it takes a mental condition to say no. This is I'm choosing this for these reasons. And if you're not rooted, back to Adlib's point around spiritual foundation, if you're not rooted in some solid foundation to guide those steps in that path to maintain this mentality, you tend to venture off the path a little bit. You're like, man, I'm sorry, I just need to go taste that fried lobster. That shit looks so damn good. I gotta get one bite of that.
Oh yeah, I guess I fall into that category. I got married later, so I mean, I watched the Freaknik documentary looking for myself. I didn't see me on there, but I looked for it.
That's good.
You know.
I was there too, brother.
You was there too? Yeah, it was. You know, it was. You know, there was a lot. Atlanta had it going on in the late '90s, early 2000s. Atlanta had a lot going on. But you're right. Once you it is a conscious thing that you have to decide. I wasn't really looking for what would be a good wife. I really was looking for what would make a good mom. That's what I was more so looking for. Can I see this woman raising my seed, whether it's a boy or a girl? That's more what I was looking for when I made my little list in my head.
Well,
I will tell you though, with that mentality, you're only going to raise and institute foundational thought in those children for a short period of time. And then they fly and they go off on their own, and you're back with that person.
Oh
yeah. You may look for that, but as you grow together, there's going to be things and assessments that you're doing and saying, is this the most compatible life partner for me?
Yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong. Kids is a big part of that. Kids is a strong foundation.
I knew that too, but I had also known that by dating the amount of women I dated, the different types of women, I knew what I wanted and what I didn't want. And when I look at, I knew what I wanted. I wanted a mom, yes, but I also wanted this type of woman. And
right.
Anything other than that was not going to be acceptable. And it didn't have to be, because I knew I was a good catch. I mean, when I met my wife, I had a whole house, a whole brand new house, 2-car garage, 5 bedrooms, 3 baths. So I brought something to the table for what women are looking for as it relates to men. I wasn't sleeping on somebody's couch. I wasn't in a roommate situation. I wasn't living at home. I had a whole home when I met my wife. So I brought something there. So at least her father could look and say, okay, well, he won't be homeless with this guy. He's doing this much at least. But yeah, you're 100% right. You're 100%. Twin, you had something to say about that?
I don't think so. No.
you don't want to throw something out there on the polygamy? I
mean, like you
can't
said,
speak on that.
I mean, I agree with Professor. I don't think it'll work. Maybe it was you, CRJ, that said that. In a perfect world, we as men, me particularly, yes, the big fantasy of multiple women, yes. However, like you said, CRJ, well, first of all, it's hard to be married to one person, and if you multiply, I don't want to sign up for that.
Women. The one thing I realized, if anybody were to ask me, a younger man, and say, "What's the hardest part about being married?" The hardest part about being married is that women are emotional and men are logical. So anything that you look at, you're going to look at it more from a logical standpoint, and women are going to look at it from emotion. That is probably the most frustrating, because you look at something, you say, "Don't you understand? Why don't you understand it this way?" And she's looking at you. Why don't you understand it this way? So to have that 2 and 3 and 4 times, it's got to be challenging. It's got to be challenging.
And
So
then
that
to
would be the hardest
articulate
part.
that thought, like I'm gonna try to break it down in a logical way versus breaking down my logic from an emotional perspective so she can receive it. That gap is very difficult to navigate because I
Very,
see
very
it in a
different.
very logical sense. I'm like 1 + 1 + 1 + 1. That gives us 4. With these 4, we can, and it's like, but if you get this one and this one, that'll make you stronger and you'll feel more secure. Now I'm breaking down a logic to an emotional standpoint so she can receive it. That's very hard for both sides to do. It is, and
The,
not to be biased, but women to break down the emotions and the logic. Ooh, that's
the hardest thing, if you, one thing that you'll always see with if you've been married long enough, the worst thing you can do is go furniture shopping. How many times you go furniture shopping and there's a table and she goes, I love that table. And you say, yeah, but it won't fit. But I love it. What does it matter? It won't fit. It's not the right size. Logically, we're looking for 60 inches. It's 50 inches. But I like, and we're still sitting there talking about your emotion of liking this table. It doesn't fit into our space. It's the most complex, simplest complex thing to have a conversation with a woman. And that's a pure example of emotion versus logic, math,
and here I'm gonna
logic,
take the
numbers.
table concept and take it to now I'm gonna spin it emotionally. Well, if it don't fit, when you have all your friends over and y'all having a good time and you try to get, fit everybody there and we can't fit, and then you putting somebody in the living room, that ain't gonna be a good look and you're gonna feel bad about that. And they're gonna say, you know what? You're right. Because now I've tapped into the emotion of that logic around it not fitting. And you gotta be, that's a very hard thing to do for a lot of us, but that breakdown in communication and tapping into that, it's difficult. It's not easy.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm gonna close out with one last question, kind of tied back to what we were talking about before. We were talking a little bit about obviously what the other races are doing versus our race. I want to get you all's opinion on this because it's a hot button out there. Would you all since we all have daughters, would you all let your daughter date someone of the opposite race, bring her home? Not just date, but commitment date. We're talking about marriage. We're talking about he's coming to you to take your daughter's hand.
I'm gonna speak on that. What I'm learning is that you really don't. You can only give an individual the knowledge that they need. They're gonna live their life based on what makes them happy, and you got to come to that realization. Your child, in a perfect world, is gonna be here longer than you are. So you gotta make your mind up. I recently just heard a situation where somebody that I know is getting married, and they're both of the same race. And I was talking to that individual's father, and he was like, he's not going to the wedding. So, this black on black crime right here. So, I don't think it really matters. You just have to know that your child is making the best decision for you, because your choice might not be their choice. And I'm speaking, from personal experience at this point. I can't stop the movement. She happy where she at, and all I can do is either accept the ride or not accept it. But that's not going to stop her from moving forward with how she feels.
Okay, I can appreciate that, Bill. So let me speak on this. So when I was younger, I used to hate and detest interracial marriage, mainly because I love my sister so much. I'm like, how in the world can we choose anything? And then, as I fell in love and really fell in love, I was like, you know what? Love is love. If you love somebody, be happy. But when I got a little older and I had kids, and I realized that if my daughter, well, I want to set her up like we all have said, I want to set her up for success as much as possible. Why would I support, in my opinion, difficult, challenging, hard life because you're in an interracial marriage? That can be, outside people, that can be within the families. His family may not like her. The kid having problems with being interracial, and just logically, like you said, CRA, logically now I think I'd rather her be evenly yoked and not have those adverse situations just because you chose outside of your marriage. So right now,
What you just said evenly yoked. What about if that guy is even? What if they are everything that she does is what he does? Maybe they're in the same major at school. Maybe they like the same thing. I mean, you don't agree with everything. You're a professional. You ain't the type of brother that walks with your pants sagging, with no job at 11 o'clock on a Monday. You're a professional. You're a businessman. So you're not the same with every black man out there. You can't relate to every black man out there in that fashion. So maybe there's somebody out there who can relate to her as a woman, what she enjoys and what she likes. And,
I get your point, but you can't give it evenly yoked. I mean, it's like me and this woman have the same major, same habits, same everything, but we have different religions. We're not evenly yoked, even though we had the same common beliefs and feelings.
Well, suppose that guy has all the same religions and he's going everywhere she's going. What she's going, he's going. He's going up that mountain. And she's like, I will support you. Everything is there. They like the same thing. They eat the same food. They go to the same coffee spot. They like the same shows. They both want 2 kids. They both want to live.
If you say evenly yoked is 100 even, you can't say that they're evenly yoked because they're different races. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
And give it to them.
I agree. I think it's going to be, you have to explain that to them as your child. Like, hey, this might not be what you think it's going to be, but, and hope that they get it. But, at the end of the day, they're the one that's got to deal with that. And, and you got to let it out. I think it's a little different for women, black women, than I do think it is for the male. The woman is the gateway to increasing the numbers in the population. So, and the man is the one that opens the gateway. So when we as men are in those relationships, the world sees us opening a gateway for another black child, not another white child. But I think as the woman, it's different, because you see more. It's not, if a white man got a black woman, then most people ain't really tripping to most degree. But if a black man got a white woman, they don't like that. They don't like that.
Professor, what you got, Professor?
Well, so I believe the foundation of it is to establish a sense of pride. That's number one. If you establish a sense of pride and culture and self, you hope. I hope that that's enough. So I can give y'all some little tidbit insight. My mom is as white as milk. I mean, white as a sheet of paper. My dad, Alabama. So I'm one of those interracial. I grew up, what Twin was talking about, I grew up with all the hardships you can imagine. I had the racial hatred of my own family calling me monkeys and this and that. And in the black community, to your point, never really being accepted as a black person because my hair was curly or my skin was a little bit lighter. And I seen better. And that's mainly to the youth. But here's the differentiating point for me. Black folks are definitely more family and community. And what I learned very young is that I had to separate the immaturity versus maturity and pride and love and culture, because I was accepted and loved on by all aspects of Black friends and family more than the other side, and was educated a lot on, culture and history and family and lineage. And when I got older, and CRJ knows this, I flat out asked my dad. I stayed with my dad. I was in college coming down. I stayed with my dad. I said, Dad, how in the hell could you procreate with a white woman?
Mm.
And I'm talking about me. I'm talking about being alive. I said, of all the beautiful black, because my mind is like these black, we are embracing, we're loving, we're supportive as a community. How could you go? Mind you now, my dad has a humongous scar from his ear to his neck, where these racists in Alabama, when he was a teenager, chased him down, bust a bottle and cut his neck, trying to kill him. And my grandfather, my white mother's father, was a chief of police in Tennessee that probably I could find a video of him hosing down folks in Tennessee. So I say, you got all of that and you chose to be with this woman and make children with this woman. Why in the hell would you do that? I don't even, I can't fathom that. And his response, and most response of what you hear is that he told me, it's like, son, I was in jail. I had a friend come visit. Your mom was with my friend that would come visit me. We struck up a conversation. We would connect. She was nice. And when I got out of jail and my friend was there and your mom was with her, and I told her I had nowhere to go, your mom said, don't worry, you got somewhere to go with me. She was nice and supportive. And that's how it happened. And that's how you came along, son. So don't question that again. So for me, I would say I would try to establish that foundation of pride and culture, because like I said, as I grew and matured, I learned and gained so much pride and joy in that lineage and culture, and a lot of animosity for the other side of that, my lineage and culture, with a few exceptions, obviously. So I would teach my daughter to take that same sense of pride and hopefully look for somebody that can relate to that. Somebody, there's a brother out there that has an understanding of that culture and heritage and can relate, and y'all can connect on that level that you'll never be able to do with a Latin person, with an Asian person. Now, Afro-Latino, that's different. A brother from a Latin country, them was brothers. They just happen to be, their colonizers happen to be from Spain and Portugal and stuff like that. So, but they brothers. So if you'll never be able to relate to that person on that level, than with another brother. Now, if you end up like my dad and you connect with somebody and you on a certain level with them and y'all just become connected and feel like you have foundational principles and beliefs that align with each other, that as you look toward the future, you can see manifest in the life of this person, I'm not going to discourage it. Like I said earlier, I'm just going to educate you on the potential aspects of what you got to look forward to. Mm-hmm. And then you need to make an informed decision. Because I believe when we talk that love is a feeling, love is this, no, love is an action. And the biggest action of love is sacrifice. Will this person sacrifice everything they own for you? If you think about love, especially if you want to get to the spiritual sense, well, they say God is love. You know why they say God is love? Because God sacrificed. God in the flesh sacrificed for you. And the greatest action, whether it's for your daughter, for your dog, for your family, for anybody, is sacrifice. My life, my time, my valuables, whatever it is. And I'm not talking about being a millionaire and donating $1,000. That ain't shit. Being a millionaire and saying, hey, can you come work at the food kitchen for 8 hours? You start talking to a millionaire about my time, I'm like, I'm losing money. But if that person say yes, they operating in love. Why? Because they sacrifice it. So to me, if they are operating in that sense, then I can't knock it. But culturally, connection, I'm going to always try to establish a good foundation to where she makes a choice that aligns more of what I think is a sense to have more pride in. But that's me.
Professor got a real professor on us. I see.
Yeah. Hey, Professor,
Yeah.
real quick question. Did your parents get married?
Never.
Okay.
Never. Now I will say that was another thing. It was I like it was hood. Like I grew up in the projects till I was about 8 years old, and that was literally when they split. Because even though they didn't say that, they were hood. They were Jody and what was
Baby boy.
yeah, what was her name?
Yvette.
Joe, I mean, like, geez, like, standing outside, the officers coming talking to you, son, what did you observe? Well, I don't know, officer. While dad walking by in handcuffs, hollering at mom getting escorted away. Let me tell you, I can go on. I got stories for days.
Appreciate
But you see what you did? You did say about what made him accept her, the fact that she gave, and I did a video on that, where a dude I knew, and he married a white woman. I asked him why, and that was a true story. It was one of my last shorts. He said that he was looking to catch a charge. Yeah, he was looking to catch a charge, and she stepped up and said, "Nah, it's my stuff," to keep him out of jail. So at the end of the day, we want someone who's going to support us. We want someone who is going to respect us. We want, we don't need that partner. We need someone, this really going to really just be and got our back like that. I don't need your money. I don't need your 6-digit income. I need you if you got my back, and it sounded like, he got out of jail and needed somebody to get his back. And same thing would happen with Bill. But no, that was a deep story. Definitely deep. Yeah.
Real life,
once again, that's what it's about. This is the Council of Good Brothers talking about real life, talking about things that can help the next generation. At the end of the day, we might not be able to make a difference, but no one will say we didn't try. So until the next time, I thank you, brothers, for coming out, sharing your knowledge, sharing your experiences. We'll call it a night.
Anytime.
God bless y'all.
Yeah, same to y'all.